It's time to rest now. Let your body sink into the warmth beneath you. Let your arms fall gently to your sides. Let your breath become easy, calm, slow. Breathe in and breathe out, like the tide, like the wind in the trees. You're safe, and all is still. Now, let's drift together into a time long ago, a time of quiet hills, cobblestone paths, meadows damp with morning dew, and a castle, sleeping in the pale light of dawn. Our story today begins at the edge of a wide green meadow, where mist clings low to the earth like silk, and the hush of daybreak wraps every blade of grass in silence. A shepherd lives here, an old man with hands like bark, and eyes that have watched more sunrises than he can count. He rises early, always before the first bird sings, before the stars have fully faded, before the villagers stir from their thatched roof dreams. He lives in a sheepfold tucked close to the castle walls. Not inside the castle, no, but just outside, where stone meets field. And the bleating of lambs is the first music of morning. His name is Thomas. He wears a cloak made from rough wool, woven long ago by his late wife. Its smell is faintly of smoke, and open grasslands, and a love now folded into time. With each morning, he steps barefoot into the meadow, not to rush, never to hurry, but to count the sheep, one by one, in whispers. 1, he breathes, brushing his hand over a snowy back. 2, as a second lamb blinks up at him with velvet eyes. 3, 4, 5. Each sheep is a lullaby. Their soft wool, thick and cream-colored, holds the night's chill like a secret. As Thomas touches each one, he remembers what the old healer once said, that wool carried blessings, of comfort, of protection, of warmth woven into the very fabric of life. Medieval folk truly believed that to sleep near wool was to be held in peace, that lamb's coats gathered goodness from the earth, that no evil spirit dared draw near when wool touched the skin. And Thomas, he believed it too. He believed in the kindness of sheep, the way they trusted, without question, and followed, without complaint. He believed in quiet mornings, and warm porridge, and the smell of sweet hay in wooden troughs. Now in the meadow the sun rises just barely over the hills. A ribbon of light spills across the grass, turning dew into pearls. The sheep blink slowly, like they're still dreaming. And Thomas smiles, a smile so soft it could be mistaken for a sigh. Today will be a good day, he says to no one, or perhaps to the wind. He walks the fold. The fence is still strong, though its beams are ancient. Each post was hammered in by hand, his hands, decades ago, and still they stand. Behind him the castle towers stretch upward, their gray stones cool and silent. No bells yet, no footsteps in the courtyard. Only ravens on the turret spires, preening feathers in silence. The world, just now, is hushed. It is this moment Thomas treasures most, before the world wakes, before the clatter of carts and the gossip of washerwomen, before the blacksmith's hammer rings and the church bell tolls. Here, beneath the blushing sky, he is simply Thomas, and his sheep, and the breath of morning. He kneels by the trough to fill it from the bucket he carried, a slosh of cold water echoing softly against the wood. The sheep wander slowly toward it, hooves padding on soft soil. One nuzzles his hand. She has a black patch over one eye, and Thomas calls her Martha. She was born the day his grandson was. He remembers because the stars were bright that night, and the wind smelled like thyme. As the sun rises higher, the first birds begin to sing, soft, hesitant chirps, like whispers among leaves, and the trees, oh, the trees. They rustle gently, just enough to stir the hair on Thomas's brow. The breeze carries with it the scent of lavender, and something else, something sweet, fresh bread from the baker's oven. It is still too early for the villagers to call greetings, but from across the meadow, a child's laughter floats on the wind, then vanishes again into the hush. It is in this rhythm, of sheep breathing softly, of birds waking slowly, of air moving gently over wildflowers and mossy rocks, that the world finds its calm. Thomas knows these rhythms like his own heartbeat. Each sunrise is a verse in an old sacred poem. Each bleat of a lamb, a line written in wool. He once told a passing friar, "If you listen close, the earth speaks when it wakes." And he believed it. He believed the rustle of grass told stories, and the hush of morning carried messages from God himself. Now, as the clouds turn peach and gold, and the warmth of the sun begins to chase away the last of the mist, Thomas sits on a worn wooden stool just outside his tiny hut. The door creaks on old iron hinges. Inside, a hearth still glows faintly from the fire he banked the night before. He leans back and watches, just watches. There is no rush here, no need for worry, no place to be, just the meadow, and the sheep, and the sky, and the soft lull of another day beginning like all the others, wrapped in wool and wonder. And as you lie here now, still and warm, safe in your place, you too can imagine that gentle meadow, that fold of fleece, that hush of air. Let it cradle your mind, let it carry you softly into sleep. The morning deepens. The pink edge of dawn melts slowly into golden light, spilling like warm honey over the hilltops, over the rooftops, over the gently stirring sheep. Thomas closes his eyes for a moment, not to sleep, no, but to listen. There are sounds only early risers hear. The rustle of a fox disappearing into brush, the shifting of birds on branch, feathers fluffed against the morning chill, the tiny, barely there sound of dew falling from leaf to leaf like nature's own lullaby. He breathes in slowly. The air tastes like wet earth and wild mint. He feels it enter his chest, then leave again, warm and steady. And with each breath he drifts further into the peace of the meadow. He remembers. Years ago, when he was a younger man, before the lines around his eyes had deepened, before his beard had turned silver, he used to walk farther into the hills beyond the sheepfold, to where the brook ran clear between mossy stones. There, he'd sit and carve little whistles from willow branches. For the children, for the travelers, for the joy of it. He thinks of that now, and his hand moves absently to the satchel at his side. Inside, a small wooden whistle, old, smooth, worn down by time and touch. He brings it to his lips and blows gently. A soft, sweet note floats into the air. Not loud, not sharp, just enough to drift. And in response, a single lark answers, from somewhere in the orchard beyond the castle wall. Thomas smiles, his eyes still closed. "In good company today," he whispers. Behind him, inside his hut, the fire sighs softly in the hearth. Its warmth drifts lazily out the open door, mixing with the morning chill, like tea and honey. And inside, should you step gently across the threshold, you'd find little more than the essentials: a cot covered in woolen blankets, a shelf of clay jars and dried herbs, a kettle hanging above the embers, a rough-hewn table with 3 chairs, though no one has sat in the other 2 in many seasons. And on the windowsill, a sprig of rosemary, tied with a blue ribbon, a token, an old memory, a bit of love that refused to leave. Outside, the sheep are moving now, not frantically, never that, but in the slow rolling way of clouds. Some nuzzle each other, some stretch their legs, some rest their heads on tufts of heather. Each one is known to Thomas, each one has a name, though he rarely speaks them aloud. But he knows. He knows their temperaments, their preferences, who follows whom, and who needs more gentle coaxing in the rain. And oh, how it rains here, but not today. Today the skies are clear, and the wind is soft, and the sheep are content. Thomas picks up a small bundle of hay and scatters it lovingly across the fold. The younger lambs trot toward it, tails twitching, Their bleats are higher pitched than the others, new bright notes in the morning song. He watches them feed. May your wool be warm, he murmurs, and your paths be kind. It's a blessing he learned from his grandfather, spoken each spring and each autumn, and whispered again, now, in this quiet space between seasons. From the distant village, a rooster crows. The world beyond the meadow begins to stir, but still, it does not rush. This is a world that believes in time, in patience, in rhythm. Thomas lifts his gaze to the castle wall. The flags do not flap wildly, they sway, gently, like the skirts of dancers in a slow-turning waltz. He remembers the feasts held there, the music, the laughter that rolled down the hill like thunder softened by velvet. But he has not been up to the castle in years. He prefers the meadow, the sheep, the steady, wordless company of creatures who ask for nothing but care and calm. He leans against the fence, his hands folded loosely before him, and lets the breeze find him. It moves through the folds of his cloak, lifting the corners, curling around his boots. It carries with it a new scent now, the scent of turned soil. Someone in the village has begun their planting. Thomas smiles again. Soon, he says, the beans will sprout, and the strawberries will blush. He says this aloud, but not loudly. The sheep do not need volume, they need tone, and his is gentle, always. His breath deepens again. Inhale, exhale, as the wind sings softly through leaves above his hut, rustling like lullabies. And he speaks again, this time as if to the air. There's something sacred in the slow, something holy in the hush. He has always believed this, believed that the spaces between sounds matter just as much as the sounds themselves, believed that wool wrapped around a child could guard their dreams, believed that counting sheep wasn't just for sleep, but for remembrance, for presence, for peace. And now, you believe it too, don't you? You can see the hills, soft and rolling, painted in morning pastels. You can feel the wind, cool and kind, brushing gently across your cheek. You can hear the sheep, their breath, their hooves, the soft thrum of their bodies moving through clover. And your own breath has become part of this meadow, part of this rhythm, part of this story. So rest, dear one. Stay here a little longer, in the sheepfold of your mind, where the world is slow and woolen and warm. And so the morning stretches further. The sky has softened from gold to pale blue, the kind of blue you only see when the world has just awakened, when sleep still lingers in the corners of the land. Thomas walks slowly back to the hut. His boots are damp with dew, and small flecks of hay cling to the hem of his cloak. He doesn't mind. Every mark, every speck of earth, is part of the rhythm, part of the ritual. Inside, the fire is beginning to fade, but Thomas has prepared for that. He kneels beside it, gently stirring the embers with an iron poker, and lays down a fresh piece of wood, carefully, respectfully, as though placing a final piece into a grand cathedral mosaic. The flames catch slowly. A whisper of smoke rises, curling through the air, and the scent of applewood fills the room. He sets a small pot of oats onto the iron hook and drops in a pinch of salt, a dash of crushed herbs, and one dried date. A small luxury, saved for days like this. He stirs it slowly. Around him, the silence of the hut is a comfort. No ticking clocks, no echoing screens. Only the crackle of flame, the soft bubbling of the pot, and the breathing of the walls, wooden and familiar like an old friend. As the oats warm, Thomas opens the small wooden chest at the foot of his cot. Inside are only a few things: a folded woolen scarf, once worn by his wife, a carved wooden flute, shaped like a swan, and a book. A very old book. Its cover is cracked and worn, its pages yellowed with time, its spine softened by gentle hands. He lifts it with reverence, as if holding a newborn lamb. He sits by the fire, cradling the book on his knees, and opens to a familiar page. The words are handwritten, ink faded but still legible. It is a collection of blessings, poems, prayers for shepherds, for animals, for travelers, and those who keep watch while the world sleeps. And so he reads, "May your flocks be full, may your nights be mild, may wool be your armor, and the stars your guide. May your feet find soft earth, and your heart be light. May peace fold around you like fleece in the night." He closes his eyes, says it again, softly, slowly, like a chant from his bones. Then he returns the book to its place, just as the pot begins to steam. Outside, the sheep have gathered near the fence. Their heads peek curiously toward the hut, as if drawn by the scent of cooking oats. Thomas chuckles. "You've eaten already," he says to them, "but I'll save you a crust, Martha." He pours the warm porridge into a wooden bowl, sits on the stone bench just outside his door, and begins to eat. Each spoonful is small, each movement unhurried. For Thomas, even breakfast is a meditation. He watches the light shift over the meadow, how it paints the backs of the sheep in soft halos. He watches a butterfly drift lazily from one wildflower to the next. He watches a pair of swallows swoop and dive, spiraling like dancers in a morning ballet. Everything belongs here. Everything has a place. Even silence. Especially silence. When the bowl is empty, Thomas rinses it with water from the well. Then he steps out into the field once more. He picks up his shepherd's staff, a simple curved branch, worn smooth from decades of use, and walks among his flock. They know him. They part gently to let him pass. Some press their noses to his leg. Some fall into step behind him, like clouds gathering around the moon. He checks their hooves, their coats, their eyes. A quiet inspection, done with care, done with love. And as he walks, he sings. Not loudly, just a hum, really. A sound that rises and falls like the hills themselves. It's a tune with no words, passed down from his mother, and hers before her. A melody that means you are safe, you are fed, you are loved. Then he stops, and turns, and lifts his eyes to the hills. Beyond them the forest glows green and gold, and deeper still, beyond the trees, beyond the hills, past the castle and the fields, there is the great sea. He hasn't seen it in many years, but he remembers it clearly. He remembers the sound it made, like breathing, like the slow inhale of the earth, followed by the soft hush of an exhale. He remembers the gulls, the salt on his lips, the way the horizon never seemed to end. Sometimes, on mornings like this, when the world is just beginning to wake, he thinks about returning, just to see it one more time, just to hear that breath again. But then the wind rustles through the heather, a lamb calls out softly, and Thomas knows his sea is here now, in these hills, in this fold, in this rhythm. The sun has risen fully now. Its warmth settles on his shoulders, his arms, his heart. And so he sits once more on the bench, his staff beside him, and he watches the sheep move like dreams across the field, watches the clouds wander slowly above, watches the day begin not with a shout but with a whisper, and still no one disturbs him, because here in this sheepfold, the world knows how to be still. And you, dear listener, you are part of this now. You walk these meadows. You feel the sun on your face. You hear the breeze in the leaves, the hush of woolen breath, the soft call of the lark. So breathe with the story. Let it hold you gently. Let it carry you down, deeper and deeper still. Later in the day, when the sunlight filters through the leaves like golden dust, Thomas rises once more. He gathers a small basket, woven long ago with twine and care, and sets off toward the hill that borders the meadow. The sheep do not follow this time. They are content beneath the ash trees, dozing in the dappled shade, tails flicking lazily, chewing, dreaming, wrapped in warmth. Thomas walks slowly, his staff tapping gently against the earth, not as a crutch, no, but as an old rhythm, a companion's echo. Tap, step, tap, breathe. At the crest of the hill, he pauses. There, spread before him, is the wide valley, green and gold, cut with streams and stone walls, with barley fields and little cottages that look like toys from this height. Smoke curls from the chimneys. The village stirs quietly. No hurry, no rush. And beyond it all, glimmering in the far distance, the sea. Just a silver suggestion, a shimmer between hills. But it is enough. Thomas sits on the smooth rock where he's always sat, a place shaped over time by his own presence. The stone is cool beneath him. The breeze here is stronger, lifting strands of his gray hair, fluttering the edge of his cloak. He opens the basket. Inside, a crust of bread, a slice of hard cheese, 2 figs wrapped in linen, a sprig of thyme, just for the smell. He eats slowly, listening to the hush between things, the sigh of the valley, the hum of insects, the creak of distant cartwheels rolling over cobbles far below. Each sound is soft. Each sound belongs. After he eats, he pulls a small object from the bottom of the basket, a smooth, round stone, polished over years of turning in the river's belly. Its color is pale, like moonlight. He holds it in his palm. This was his son's. Long ago, when the boy was young and the world seemed wide, the child had called it his guardian stone, said it kept away nightmares, said it whispered kind things if you listened closely at night. Thomas had smiled then, and kept it safe ever since. He sets the stone atop the flat surface of the hill rock, lets it catch the sun. Still guarding us, he whispers. Still here. From this high point, he watches the shadow of the castle stretch across the field. It no longer intimidates him. It simply is, like a mountain, like time. He remembers working inside those walls, long, long ago, carrying water buckets, fixing tools, tending the stables before he ever herded sheep. He remembers the way the echo of footsteps followed him through the halls, the smell of iron and smoke, the distant sound of harp strings in the great hall. And then, his wife. She had come to the castle for herbs. He had seen her by the fountain gathering mint. Her hands had been stained green, her eyes clearer than the stream. He had offered her water. She had offered him a smile. The memory now lives as gently in him as the breeze lives in the trees. Not sharp, not painful, but present. Always present. Thomas stands again, the stone now warm in the sun. He returns it to his basket and begins his walk back. The journey is short, but he takes it as though it were long, because the best journeys are never measured in steps, but in attention, and he is paying attention to everything. Down below, the sheep lift their heads at the sound of his steps. One by one, they move toward him, silent, unhurried, like shadows on water. Thomas stops to greet them. He kneels beside a small lamb, newborn, still shaky on its legs, and checks its eyes, wipes its face with a cloth, smiles softly. "You've got the look of your mother," he whispers. "She was kind, too." He moves among them as though they were pages in a book, each one familiar, each one worthy of pause. And now, he returns to his stool outside the hut, beneath the window with the blue-ribboned rosemary. The light has changed again. It is now soft, golden, the time of day poets call eventide. The sheep curl together in sleep, the wind stills, and Thomas speaks aloud, as if to the sky. Not all who keep watch are guards. Some of us just stay, quietly, so others can dream. And perhaps he's speaking to you too, so let this evening wrap around you, like wool upon your shoulders. Let the sheepfold close its gates. Let the stars take their places. Let the hush return. You are safe. You are seen. You are folded in warmth, in memory, in peace. The sun has tipped just beneath the hills now, leaving behind streaks of lavender and rose across the sky. It is the kind of twilight that hums softly, that seems to slow time itself, until each second stretches, then settles. Thomas lights a lantern. Its glow is gentle, not to push back the night, but to greet it. To say softly, "I see you. Come in." The sheep have gathered close, not out of fear, but in a quiet, shared instinct. As night arrives, they huddle together in little clusters, heads resting on backs, tails curled close. A collective hush. Thomas watches them from his place on the bench, his fingers wrapped around the warm mug of herbal water, steeped with chamomile, a single clove, and dried petals of linden. The mug feels solid in his hands, as real and grounding as the earth beneath his boots. And the smell, it's like memory and steam. Familiar, comforting. The kind of scent that seems to come not from the cup, but from within your chest. Above, stars begin to emerge. 1, then 3, then 10, each blinking gently, as if waking slowly from their own soft slumber. Thomas leans back, tilting his face to the sky. He does not name the constellations, he simply observes. Because to name them might pull them too close, when their magic lies in their distance. He watches until his eyes grow heavy, not from sleepiness alone, but from stillness, from surrender. Eventually, he stands and walks the fold. One final check before the moon rises, a ritual as old as the hills. And he speaks softly to each sleeping form. Rest now. Sleep well. You are safe. He runs his hand along their backs, the wool cool now in the evening air, but full of stored warmth. He believes, still believes, that wool remembers the sun, that it holds onto the heat of day and releases it slowly into the dreams of night. And as he finishes the circuit of the fold, a gentle fog begins to gather. It creeps low along the ground, like a blanket unfolding itself across the earth. The sheep do not stir. They are already somewhere else. In their dreams, on pastures with no fences, under skies that never darken. Back inside the hut, Thomas banks the fire one last time. He stirs the coals, adds a thick log, then lays the iron poker gently beside the hearth as if placing a sacred tool upon an altar. The room is warm, still, the kind of warmth that invites sighs. He pours the last of his drink, wraps a woolen blanket around his shoulders, and lowers himself into the cot. The walls creak gently as the night deepens. The rosemary at the window dances slightly in the breeze. And in the quiet, there is no need for sound. Only the soft crackling of embers. Only the occasional bleat, far off, like a lullaby drifting in through a dream. Thomas closes his eyes and listens. In this place, sleep does not come like a wave. It comes like mist. It arrives gradually, settling into your bones, into the lines of your face, into the corners of your thoughts you didn't even know were waiting. It brings with it memories, not sharp ones, but the softened kind, like old quilts folded in cedar chests. He remembers holding his son, tiny and red-faced, swaddled in wool. He remembers the sound of lullabies, half sung, half hummed, while the wind curled around the shuttered windows. He remembers waking in the middle of a winter night, lighting a candle, and checking the sheep by moonlight. Each one breathing, each one alive, each one watched over. Just like now, nothing has changed, only time. Outside, the wind moves like a story being whispered through leaves. And the stars? Oh, the stars now fill the sky. So many that they don't seem real. So many that it feels somehow like the sky itself is covered in fleece. And perhaps it is. Perhaps the sky is a great sheepfold too, with stars for sheep, with constellations for fences, and the moon as a gentle shepherd guiding them across the night. And here, in your own quiet room, your own quiet meadow, you are held too. You are part of this world, part of this stillness, part of this peace. So let yourself drift now into the woolen hush, into the folding dark, into the slow rhythm of breath and wind and time. The night has deepened now. It is the kind of dark that softens the edges of the world, where shapes blur into shadows, and shadows melt into silence. Thomas lies in his cot, blanket pulled up to his chest, hands resting gently atop his middle, not gripping, not curled, just resting, like autumn leaves upon still water. He is not fully awake nor fully asleep. He is floating, and in this floating, memories rise, not like sharp images, but like fog rising from warm ground. He sees a field of violets somewhere from a spring decades ago. He sees a girl, his sister perhaps, laughing as she chases a red ribbon through the grass. He sees his mother's hands, bent at the knuckles, but nimble as they spun wool on the spindle in the hearth's soft light. These visions do not speak. They simply drift by, offering comfort, offering presence. And above him, the fire sighs quietly in the hearth. The embers pulse, bright, dim, bright again, as though breathing with him. Outside, the sheep sleep deeply. The moon casts a silvery glow across their backs, making them look like clouds fallen to earth. An owl hoots once, then goes silent. Its wings brush the night like silk. The trees sway gently. No urgency in their movement, only patience, only peace. Somewhere far off, a church bell tolls once, not to call but to mark the hour, as if the world itself is whispering, another day has passed. Another dream is waiting. Inside the hut, the air has grown still. Thomas breathes softly, evenly. His chest rises and falls with the rhythm of the sheep outside. He dreams now, and in his dream he walks through a golden meadow, endless but never tiring. The grass brushes gently against his fingers. Each blade sings a note, and together they make a song he's never heard before but knows by heart. In this dream, he is not old, nor young. He simply is, timeless, present, complete. A figure walks beside him. He doesn't need to look. He knows. It is her. She says nothing. Neither does he. They don't need words here. Only shared breath, shared steps, shared stillness. They walk together through the tall grass, through a grove of apple trees in blossom, and into a pasture where all the sheep he's ever known gather, as white as moonlight, as quiet as snowfall. They lift their heads as he passes. They do not speak. They only acknowledge. And the feeling that fills his chest is not joy, not sorrow, but something older, something deeper, something like home. In the real world, the fire dwindles. The last of the logs gives a faint crack, then falls into quiet embers. The wind curls gently under the doorframe, bringing with it the scent of wild thyme and nighttime soil. A fox pads past the sheepfold, silent and careful. It glances once toward the hut, then slips into the darkness as if drawn by a dream of its own. The stars above have multiplied. They are thick now, like scattered grain across black velvet. One falls, just a streak, and disappears again into forever. And somewhere, far beyond the castle walls, beyond the pastures, beyond the sea, there is a horizon that waits for no one, yet welcomes all. Thomas stirs slightly, not to wake, not to move, just to sigh, a breath like a page turning. And in his dream, the sun begins to rise, slowly, lovingly, turning the fields to fire and the sky to silk, and he knows, in the dream and outside of it, that morning will come again. Not with fanfare, not with thunder, but with soft bleats, dew on wool, and the hush of peace between each counted breath. And now you, dear one, you drift too, into dreams that know your name, into fields that remember your footsteps, into stars that waited for you to look up again. You are not lost. You are simply resting, held in this story, held in this fold. So let go. Let the story hold your thoughts like sheep gathered beneath castle walls. Let your breath soften. Let the weight lift. Sleep is not far, only a whisper away. The night is full now. Not just dark, but full. Like a bowl of still water, reflecting stars that do not blink. Inside the hut, the silence is complete. So gentle it feels like fabric, woven around the walls, layer upon layer. Tomas lies still. His hands do not move. His breath has become a hush barely distinguishable from the wind outside. He is wrapped in wool, but more than that. He is wrapped in memory, in peace, in presence. The fire has become ash now. The last of the embers rest like fireflies asleep in a hollow. Their glow is dim but steady. A heartbeat under the hearthstone, and still. The air is warm, held by the thick walls, the tightly thatched roof, and the stories folded into every timber. In the pasture, the sheep have not moved. They are dreamers now. Not creatures of the waking world, but silent travelers moving through pastures of their own imagining. Rolling hills made of wool, skies the color of warm milk, no fences, no shepherds, only the rhythm of rest. And above, the moon. She has climbed high now. Rounding her face, she gazes down, not as a watcher, but as a guardian. She has seen the old shepherd many nights before. She has lit his path with silver, has shone through the slats in his shutters, has cooled the back of his neck as he walked among the flock. But tonight, he does not walk. Tonight, he is still. Utterly, entirely, still. And the moon, the kind and silent moon, keeps her watch over him. Time passes differently in the folds of night. It stretches, melts, becomes soft. It is no longer counted by the clock or the bell, but by the breath, by the flicker of thought, by the quiet turning inward. And now, in this chapter of the story, there are no more events to witness, only states of being, stillness, warmth, belonging. In his dream, Thomas stands once more in the meadow, but now everything is touched by starlight. The grass glows silver. The sheep shine like pearls. The trees sparkle gently with frost that isn't cold, only luminous. He walks barefoot through the grass. He does not feel the ground, only the pulse of the world beneath it. A deep hum, ancient, wordless. Ahead a wooden gate. He knows it, but it has never been there before. He opens it. It does not creak. It opens like breath, like dawn. And beyond it, a new field, but not new in the way we think of time, new in the way water is new when you drink it after a long walk, familiar, essential, welcoming. Here, his wife waits. She does not look as she did in life, nor as she did in photographs. She looks like memory made real. She is every moment he ever loved her, folded into one form. She reaches for his hand. He takes it. And together, they walk among sheep that need no tending, no counting. They are not here to be watched. They are here to watch back, and they do, gently, lovingly, as if welcoming an old friend into a room he helped build but never saw finished until now. Outside the dream, the wind shifts. It carries with it the coolness of early morning, not the morning of sunrises, but the one just before, when the world has emptied itself of night but not yet spoken of day. The stars begin to fade, one by one. The moon retreats toward the western hills, satisfied. And a single bird, just one, sings a soft, uncertain note. In the sheepfold, the lambs begin to stir. They blink slowly. They stretch their legs. They look toward the hut. But they do not bleat. They wait. They know something is different, not wrong. Not bad, just different. The kind of quiet that only happens once in a long, long time. And in the hut, the old man rests, deeper than sleep. Beyond the fold of breath, beyond the sound of the wind, he has become part of the stillness, part of the wool, part of the fire, part of the dream. And the sheep, who have always known more than we give them credit for, gather near the door, not to wail, not to mourn, only to be close, to keep vigil, to lend their warmth, to make sure the story is finished. And now you two are here, at this edge of morning, at this hush of time, at this perfect pause between waking and sleep. You have followed the shepherd through the mist, through the meadow, through the folds of his memory. And now, you rest with him. So close your eyes. Let the sheep gather near. Let the wind grow still. Let the moon take her final bow. And let sleep claim you gently. You are home. Time moves like honey now. Slow, golden, and thick with silence. The stars are fading. Each one, a final lantern extinguished by the coming light. The sky shifts from charcoal to pearl to the faintest shade of blue, the color of breath held just before a tear, just before a song. And in the sheepfold, everything holds still, even the breeze, even the birds, even the trees, which only moments ago danced in the hush of night. Now, they wait, because dawn is not just light, it is a moment the world holds its breath for, a moment when everything listens. The door of the shepherd's hut remains closed, its hinges untouched, its latch unmoved, but inside, there is peace, not sleep, not death, not departure, something softer, something like a candle that has finished burning, but still leaves its warmth in the room. The sheep begin to rise, first one, then two, then the whole flock moving with the instinct of shared rhythm. They do not bleat. They do not cry. Instead, they walk quietly toward the meadow, as they have always done. But this time, they stop at the gate. They do not pass through. They stand there facing east, watching the sky. And they wait. The first rays of sunlight spill across the grass, golden and gentle, like a new memory being made. They touch the tops of trees, kiss the wildflowers, glint against morning dew resting on wool and leaf and fence post. The world exhales, and the sheep, still watching, begin to walk again. Not in fear, not in confusion, but in reverence, because even they know some mornings are different. And far above, where the sky is already bright, a lark begins to sing. Its voice is soft at first, a single note, like a whisper to the clouds, then another, and another, until the air is filled with its music. A hymn, a farewell, or perhaps a welcome, a song only morning understands. Inside the hut, the light has reached the window. It falls across the rosemary on the sill, the blue ribbon faded but still fluttering faintly in the rising air. It touches the wooden chair, the edge of the table, the smooth rim of the tea mug, now cool, and then it falls across the cot. The old man lies just as he did, blanketed in wool, face turned slightly toward the door, as if waiting for someone to arrive. But there is no tension in his brow, no stiffness in his limbs, only stillness, only peace, only the echo of a life lived with gentleness, with purpose, with a quiet kind of joy. And outside, the sheep pass the gate, moving into the meadow bathed in morning gold. But one lamb remains behind. It stands by the door, ears flicking, tail twitching. It presses its nose to the wood, not to knock, not to call, just to be near. Because it knows, somehow, that the story inside that hut was always meant for more than one heart. That the warmth that lived there still lingers in the walls, still breathes in the air, still hums beneath the floorboards, and will, for a long, long time. The village bell chimes, miles away, barely heard above the birdsong. But Thomas does not rise. Not this morning. Not with his boots. Not with his whistle. Not with his staff. Instead, he rises in the wind, in the breath of the sheep, in the song of the lark, in the dew on the wool, in the warmth of the first morning sun, and those who come after, those who keep watch now, will feel him, in the hush, in the fold, in the peace between footsteps. They will know. He was here. He still is. And you, dear listener, you have journeyed far, through pasture, through memory, through mist and moon and morning, and now, your story folds into stillness too. Let your breath soften. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the quiet claim you as gently as wool across bare shoulders. There is nothing left to do. No sound you need to make. No place you need to go. Only here. Only now. Only peace. Sleep now. You are safe. You are home. Now the light has filled the valley. Not with brightness, but with presence. A soft illumination that does not demand to be noticed, and yet cannot be ignored. The sky has transformed into pearl. Not blue, not white, but that secret shade of morning only those who wake before the world ever truly see. It is the color of memory, of old letters, of love pressed into linen, of the last breath before sleep. The sheep are grazing again, peacefully, gently. Their hooves make no sound on the mossy earth. Their wool catches the golden light like clouds warmed from within. They no longer glance toward the hut. They do not need to. They understand in their way that what needed to happen has happened. That what was once outside them is now inside everything. The lamb that lingered by the door has joined the flock. But sometimes, just briefly, it turns its head toward the little cottage, not in sorrow, not in longing, but in honor, in memory, and then returns to the grass, the scent of rosemary still clinging to its thoughts. There are footsteps now, approaching from the path, boots worn but steady. A younger shepherd, new to the land, but not to the rhythm. He carries no staff, only a small flute, and a parcel of oats. He was sent from the village. He'd heard the sheep were quiet this morning. Too quiet. But as he arrives at the gate, he pauses. Something holds him still. The sheep turn toward him, acknowledging but not alarmed. There is no panic in them, no unrest, only presence. He opens the gate, walks slowly, steps carefully as though entering sacred ground. He sees the hut, the ribbon in the window, the glow of the sun catching on the rim of the empty mug. He steps up to the door, lifts his hand, then lowers it again. There is no need to knock. The quiet has answered him already. Inside, he finds Thomas exactly as you remember him, wrapped in wool, face turned slightly toward the dawn, a faint smile at the corners of his mouth. The young man stands still, removes his cap, and for a moment he says nothing. He only breathes. He only listens. To the hush, to the stillness, to the story in the room that needs no words. And then, he sets the flute on the table, a gesture of respect, a promise to continue. He leaves the door open as he steps back out, allowing the sun to enter, allowing the wind to say goodbye, allowing the story to linger. In the days to come, they will say Thomas passed with the peace of a full meadow, with the quiet of deep wool, with the timing of stars. No one will cry loudly. No bells will toll more than once. No announcements. No ceremonies. Only a hush. Only a shared breath. The kind that travels from one generation to the next. The kind that becomes legend not in books, but in morning light. And the sheep will remember him. Long after others forget. They will graze in his favorite places, rest in the shape of his boots pressed into the earth. They will pause by the bench as if waiting for him to arrive with oats in his pocket and song in his hum. And the earth will remember too. The door that opened softly, the fire that burned low but steady, the story told in silence, and the wind will carry it. To the trees, to the hills, to you. And now, so will your dreams. You have been here. You have walked with him. You have stood in his pasture, felt the hush in your lungs, tasted the stillness in your chest, and you carry that now. Wherever you rest, wherever you drift, the sheepfold lives within you. So breathe. Breathe deeper. Let the hush gather in the corners of your eyes, the space between your thoughts, the cradle of your hands. There is nothing more you need. You are the story now. You are the shepherd. You are the peace. Now the sun has fully risen, its rays slipping across the valley like long fingers of gold. The mist that once clung to the folds of the meadow has melted into the air. Not gone, just transformed. Like all things that pass gently, without pain, without sound. The sheep have spread out again, their hooves whispering in the grass. They graze in peace, but every now and then they lift their heads and look, not toward the castle, nor the rising sun, but toward the memory of something warm, something safe, something whole. The young shepherd, the one with the flute, sits on the same hilltop where Thomas once ate his bread and thyme. He holds the polished stone in his palm now, the one passed down, the one called the guardian. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. His silence is full, the kind of full that only comes from listening to stories told not with voices, but with wool and wind and firelight. He looks out across the field. He watches the flock, and he begins to hum. Not a song with words, not a tune he learned. Just the memory of a sound his heart had been waiting to remember. A lullaby carried on the breath of a man who lived quietly and left the world quieter in return. The gate of the fold sways gently. The hinges creak, but not in protest, in rhythm. A rhythm passed from palm to staff, from boot to soil, from dream to sky. You see, the story was never about Thomas alone. It was about the field, the wool, the hush between bleats, the hush between you and sleep. And now the fire in the hut is out, but its warmth has not left. It lives on in the walls, in the bench, in the breath of the sheep who lay closest to the hearth at night. And maybe in your chest too. A small glow, a pulse, a stillness, like wool across bare skin, like a whisper in the dark, like your name spoken by someone who loves you, without needing to speak at all. And so now, this is the moment we have been moving toward. Not an ending, but a folding. Not a farewell, but a soft closing of a book whose pages still hum long after the cover is drawn. You are lying down now, still and warm. Perhaps you didn't even notice when the edges of your thoughts softened, when the line between the story and the self faded. But now, you are here. Not in the field, not in the hut, but in the same stillness that lives inside them. The same stillness that cradles the world just before it opens its eyes. You are wrapped, you are watched, you are wanted. You are part of this fold now. So breathe in, let your shoulders settle, let your eyes close fully. Let the last of the tension drift out of your limbs like fog from the grass at morning. Breathe out, let the hush come. Let the sheep graze without worry. Let the moon sleep. Let the hearth glow inside you. There is nothing to fix, nothing to fear, nothing to chase. Only rest, only peace. Only wool and wind and the whisper of your name in the silence of daybreak. Sleep now, softly, slowly. You are home. You are held. You are the hush.